Welcome to the Recruiting Report. We've got about a week left before National Signing Day. I'm Manny Navarro, joined once again by Miami Herald writer Larry Blustein. Before we talk about how FIU and the University of Miami are doing, Larry, let's take a look at the top 20 in Broward. You look at, really, most of the names have already been attached to schools. Two guys, though, still available. Ivan McCartney, Gio Bernard, who just decommitted from Notre Dame.
Well, Ivan McCartney, it's been a, I guess, West Virginia-Miami battle. I think it'll remain that way, rightfully so. Gio Bernard decommitted from Notre Dame. Still looking there, but North Carolina could be the surprise right there. He's felt real comfortable on a weekend visit there.
A couple other guys in Broward I wanted to talk about: Tony Grimes, Dwani Mera. Any idea where they might be headed?
I think Tony Grimes ends up at Mississippi. He's tried a lot of other places. It's a Illinois-Rutgers battle for Dwani Mera, the defensive end, and a very good one, too.
All right, when we switch over and take a look at Miami-Dade, you pretty much have the same story, maybe a few more kids undecided. The one I think everybody would like to know about is Hialeah defensive end Corey Lemonier and his teammate Calvin Smith. Could they end up being a package deal?
I thought maybe at the beginning, you know, Tennessee would have been a good package for. I think Corey Lemonier ultimately goes to FSU, and I think Calvin ends up going to North Carolina. I know he had a visit to Alabama, it went very well, but I think he goes to play for Butch and be a big surprise. I think he'd be a good fit there.
A few more Dade kids I wanted to ask you about. I spoke to Miami Springs receiver Willis Wright on Sunday after his visit to FIU. Looks like he is down to the Golden Panthers and West Virginia, although you look at a couple other guys coming out: Central running back Brandon Gaynor, Homestead's Darren Kitchen. What's the latest on Gaynor and Kitchens?
Well, I think Gaynor ends up, and I think he's a very good one. It's a North Carolina situation, but I think he'd be a good fit for UCF, follow some of his teammates there. And, you know, when you look at a kid like Kitchens, he's a tremendous athlete, could play defensive end, he could play outside linebacker. I'm almost appealing for everybody to take a look at him because he's just a tremendous athlete that deserves to go somewhere. And he's good grades, too, which I like.
Let's turn our focus to Coral Gables, where the Hurricanes are busy trying to wrap up another top 20 national recruiting class. Sunday, UM picked up its 26th commitment when they got Buffalo area linebacker James Gaines to become the 5th linebacker in this class. Ultimately, though, Larry, the focus of this class has been filling a huge need on the offensive line. UM has 7 offensive line commitments and are bringing in the nation's #1 recruit, Ciancho Henderson, this weekend for a look. What do you think of this Canes class?
I like to see Ciancho Henderson come here. I think it's kind of slim. I think that's an Ohio State-Florida battle, but you know what? You always have hope. He picked him as one of the top 5. Brandon Linder, Feliciano, 2 kids that really are going to help, I think, down the line on the offensive line. The kid Nelson at linebacker is going to be tremendous. They have a very good class going. Remember, it's based on need. Miami doesn't want to go and get a bunch of receivers and get all these running backs when they don't need them. They need defensive backs, they need linebacker help, and they need offensive line help. They went after all of them.
6 kids are able to enroll early. UM has 1 recruiting weekend left, and a few kids they're trying to chase down: Asante Cleveland, a tight end from Sacramento; Henderson, who we mentioned earlier; McCartney; Corey Lemonier. Who do you think is the most important player the Canes need to get with 1 recruiting weekend left?
All of them, but it's not going to happen. It's awfully tough. If they can land Sticks and McCartney, I think they've done their job of getting some additional depth at that position. You know, you'd love to have a Henderson. You'd love to have another defensive end like Lemonier. I just don't think Lemonier will end up in Coral Gables, but they can land Sticks McCartney from Miramar. They've done their job, and there's no saying that they can't.
Last but not least, let's talk about the job Mario Cristobal is doing down there at FIU. The Golden Panthers are coming off a 3-9 season, but they've made a big focus on defense with this class. They've got several local kids, including defensive back Richard Leonard of Miami-Killeen, linebacker Caleb Vincent of Hollywood Hills, Sam Miller from LaSalle. Which of the 19 commitments do you think make the most impact this fall? Richard
Leonard, quality football player, and I've said it over and over again. I still think he remains as one of the most impactful recruits they've ever had. He doesn't have to come in and you don't have to transition him to something. He is already something. He's a great cover corner, Manny, and I think the world of him. I also think Kedrick Rhodes, a kid that's coming in from Ocala Trinity, is going to be a help. Jake Medlock is a big surprise. Right away, they won't need him at quarterback because they have Wesley Carroll, and all of a sudden they have the kid Jeremiah Harden coming in for Syracuse. Good job for Mario Cristobal. Got to win 5 or 6 games this year to keep this train rolling.
All right. FIU, of course, still isn't done. They're chasing hard after Miami Springs receiver Willis Wright, who we talked about earlier. Cypress Bay offensive lineman Joe McNamara went down for a visit, although he probably doesn't end up there. Who is FIU after that they need to get in this class?
Well, you know, we talk about Willis Wright. I think Willis Wright, if he can come into this class, I mean, isn't that funny? If he goes to Miami, he makes that class better, and if he goes to FIU, he makes that class better. I think he'd be a great guy to have in there. Mario Cristobal is going after everybody he can. But I think if they can get Willis Wright, that is one that they've targeted since last spring.
Great stuff as always, Larry. That does it this week for the recruiting report. For Larry Blustein, I'm Manny Navarro. We'll see you next week as we inch closer to National Signing Day.